Alright, I'm back with another album review. This time I'm going to take a look at a soundtrack. The soundtrack in question is that of The Social Network, aka Noel 001. The film was directed by David Fincher and stars Jesse Eisenberg, Justin Timberlake, Armie Hammer, and Max Minghella. It was released on October 10th, 2010, despite premiering at the 2010 New York Film Festival on September 24th of the same year. On a side note, I've only seen it once. Anyways, this is the very first soundtrack made as a collaborative effort between Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who are best known for their work with Nine Inch Nails. It's just that this was made without the Nine Inch Nails moniker. I already reviewed the soundtrack for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which was the second soundtrack that they made. Trent worked on soundtracks before. This is the first time This is the first one he made in collaboration with Atticus Ross. The soundtrack was recorded in 2010 in Los Angeles, but I don't know what studio it was recorded at. If anyone knows, be sure to let me know in the comments. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did all the instrumentation, production, composition, arrangements, and programming by themselves. The soundtrack was engineered by Blumpy, mixed by Michael Patterson, and mastered by Tom Baker at Precision Mastering in Los Angeles. David Fincher was credited as the executive producer. The art design was done by Rob Sheridan, who has a very long history of working with Nine Inch Nails. The soundtrack was released on September 28th, 2010 on the Knoll Corporation, distributed by Sony Music Entertainment. On September 17th of the same year, a 5-track sampler was released containing the songs Pieces Form the Whole, Eventually We Find Our Way, On We March, A Gentle Hum of Anxiety, and Soft Trees Break the Fall. The sampler was released as sort of an appetizer for the soundtrack. I'm not going to review the sampler because all the songs that are on the soundtrack. The soundtrack itself is primarily in the realm of electronic music, but there are songs that venture into dark ambient, electro-industrial, chiptune, and even experimental music. Now let's talk about the songs. The first two songs are Hand Covers Bruise and In Motion. The third song is A Familiar Taste. It's actually a remix version of 35 Ghosts 4 from the album Ghosts 1 through 4. The next songs are It Catches Up With You, Intriguing Possibilities, Painted Sun and Abstract, 314 Every Night, Pieces Form the Whole, Carbon Prevails, Eventually We Find Our Way, and Penetration. After that is a cover of the song In the Hall of the Mountain King by Edvard Grieg. What comes next is On We March. Next song is Magnetic, which is actually a reworked version of the song 14 Ghosts 2 from the album Ghosts 1 through 4. After that is Almost Home, Hand Covers Bruise Reprise, Complication with Optimistic Outcome, The Gentle Hum of Anxiety, and Soft Trees Break the Fall. When researching the soundtrack, I saw that it peaked at number 20 on the US Billboard 200, number 6 on the US Billboard Rock Albums, number 3 on the US Billboard Top Digital Albums, number 2 on the US Top Independent Albums, number 3 on the US Top Alternative Albums, and number 1 on the US Top Soundtracks. Putting soundtrack under rock albums is stretching it because it's more in the realm of electronic music rather than rock. Anyways, the soundtrack was received very well from critics and has a 76 on Metacritic. It ended up winning several awards, including an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and Alliance of Women Film Journalists Award, among others. When it comes to my opinion, I really like this soundtrack. It's quite amazing what Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are capable of without the Nine Inch Nails moniker. Some of the songs themselves are pretty upbeat. It's a major contrast to their next soundtrack, which has a darker tone and would touch upon drone music. I already reviewed that one. If you want to hear me go into detail about the soundtrack to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I'll include a link to my review in the description. Even though I prefer that soundtrack to this one, I highly recommend the soundtrack to The Social Network. And now's the part where I question you. Have you listened to the soundtrack to The Social Network? If so, what do you think about it? What's your favorite song from it? How do you feel about Trent Reznor and Atticus composing soundtracks without the Nine Inch Nails moniker? Were they the right people to compose this soundtrack? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to press the notification bell to notify you of future videos. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon with another review.